So there's just been some huge news that Serato is dropping its own MIDI controller called the Serato Slab. And if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you guys know that I'm a machine producer. I got my machine right here. And the first thing I thought when I saw the Serato Slab is, wow, Serato definitely copied Native Instruments homework. Because it looks very, very similar with the buttons on the side. The pads look pretty similar. But I want to give Serato a fair shake and watch the video and see if it's worth some of you guys getting. So let's react to it.
Slab is the first controller designed and made to work with Serato Studio. As a natively mapped MIDI controller, Slab puts everything from Serato Studio right at your fingertips, so you can stay in the zone without having to reach for your mouse. It's designed to work with Serato Sample and even Serato DJ Pro as an accessory device.
So honestly, guys, I think that's going to be one of the biggest things. Serato is known for its DJ equipment and its pioneer DJ setups. So if you guys see someone like Fred again, who's doing a DJ setup, but also has been known to use the machine and has also dipped his hands into MPCs and stuff like that for live performance and pad whacking and things like that. I think Serato Slab is going to be huge for that, because if you can directly connect it to Serato Studio, so everything's kind of in one, I think that would be huge. And then you can trigger samples while you're doing your setup and everything like that. It's all just going to be more in one place. And I think for DJs, I'm not a DJ myself, so I don't know exactly. I think that's going to be huge. And then also too, you can bring this thing to your studio and have more of a tactile feel. First impressions is it kind of seems like a more all-in-one for DJs and electronic producers, but I'll keep watching and we'll see.
I'll show you how to make a beat on Slab in Serato Studio. Let's start with the drums. Hold Shift plus Auto Set to select a genre and we'll generate a pattern from Studio's library. You can always hit Shift plus Delete to clear the deck so you can do your own thing. Let's give it some feel. Set Slab to strip mode and use the touch strip to quickly dial in the swing for the drums.
Okay, so it looks like they kind of have everything you need right out the gate for a MIDI controller. The one thing I can't get over is how much the buttons on the side look like machine buttons you'll see here. And even when he's clicking them, it just looks very much similar. But I mean, Serato has been in the game for a long time. They're going to have all the tips and tricks and all the access to make a great MIDI controller. So this is kind of what I was expecting. But I want to see if it can do something more than just machine and something more than just MPC. They already have an upper hand because Serato Studio and Serato Sample is just so loved and respected. A lot of producers, most of the time, if they don't have a MIDI controller, they're already using Serato Sample to cut up their samples and stuff like that. So they're already going to have a little bit of an advantage, because instead of being like, hey, we have this cool MIDI controller like Machine, download this software that you wouldn't normally use to use this thing. Instead, it's kind of backwards. They say, hey, you're already using this software. Why don't you just get this piece of hardware to make the software better? I have to admit, it's pretty good marketing, if you ask me. But we'll see how this video goes. I want to see if they have anything different.
Now, let's look at the hi-hats by viewing them on Slab Step Sequencer. Press Shift plus Piano Mode. I want my hi-hats to sound a bit more human and less programmed. Hold down any of the pads in the sequence and shift where they land by turning the big dial. And to adjust the velocity, again, hold down any of the pads that you want to change, and this time, we'll use the touch strip to dial in those playing dynamics.
I will say that's a pretty cool take on swing, how you can just kind of turn the knob there and then nice and easily kind of transfer the notes. And you see Serato Studio just has a nice looking layout. And like I said before, if people already know how to use Serato Studio and Serato Sample, it's going to be so much easier. You're not going to have to buy the hardware and then learn the software and the hardware at the same time. You're already going to have an advantage. So that's pretty interesting.
Now that I have my drums the way that I want, let's make the loop longer. Press scene size to extend the scene size out to the way that you want. Here, I'll extend it to 4 bars. And let's add some more variation to the loop by adding in some note repeats. I'll select the hi-hat and hold down the note repeat and dial in the repeat value with the first encoder knob, anywhere from a 4th note to a 1/32 triplet. And I'll record a variation to finish up the drums. Now let's chop up a sample. I'll create a new scene by pressing Scene Select and tap on an empty pad to make a new scene.
All right, so they have scenes in groups, and if you'll notice here, instead of clicking the select, these are how you get to your different groups here. So it is very similar to Maschine. The layout, everything I'm seeing is so very similar. We got our note repeat right here, and this is all very standard stuff. It's just the buttons and stuff, and even the pads look so similar that it's hard not to get a little bit of deja vu. So everything for a drum pad MIDI controller is pretty standard. I knew that they were going to be pretty bang on as soon as I saw that they were dropping this. What I'm really interested to see is the sampler, because that's where Serato shines, a Serato sampler.
With the sample loaded, I'll use auto set to automatically chop up and set cue points throughout the sample. If you want to change the auto set mode, you can hold shift and press auto set. You can favorite the cue points you like and press auto set again to find more. If there are any chops that I don't want, I'll hold down delete and press the pads. And if I want to scroll through my sample, I'll set deck scrub as the down mode. This way, I can tap on any of the empty pads and assign cue points. Let's quickly dial the frequencies and volume. Press the encoder mode and then go to deck EQ to shape the track's highs, mids, lows, and levels using these 4 encoder knobs.
All right, so what he just said about the EQing live, I am quite interested in that, because if you know, DJs oftentimes EQ things live just to give it more of a live feel, and then they'll take highs out and then add them back as the drop's coming, stuff like that. So I'd be really interested to see how much different this sounds than EQing on something like Maschine. I don't see anything that crazy yet, but then again, we're only halfway through the video, so I'm wondering if they're saving something for the end for us. But I don't know, let's keep watching.
Make another scene and load another sample to do something different. I'll separate the sample stems. I only want the melody, so I'll mute the bass and everything else. Press the encoder mode button and select deck stems, and press down on the encoder knobs to turn off any of the unwanted stems.
Maschine does have stem separation, but my guess is Serato's stem separation is going to be much, much better, because this thing is literally meant for live DJ sets. I know that they probably had beat making in mind when they came up with this thing, but my guess would be that it's more so made for DJs who also might want to make beats. So my guess would be the stem separation, if you're doing it live and on the fly and chopping up samples, is going to be a little bit better. I would need to try it out for myself. I can't really tell from just this video, but I will say that is interesting. That is something that interests me.
And for the melody stem, I can turn the encoder knob to adjust the level of the stems to my liking. And like I did before, I'll tweak the EQs and the deck volume. Now I want to add bass to my track, so I'll make a new scene and I'll add another sample in. This sample's got a pretty good bass line already, so let's load it up into a new deck and place a couple of chops. And for this sample, I don't want the melody, so again, I'll mute the track stems except for the bass.
So the one thing I have issue with in this video is the samples he's using are all kind of slam dunks for stem separation. What I want to see is him drag in like a super old sample, one where the sounds are a little bit more muddy, and then see how stem separation works. Because right now he's kind of using samples that have a very distinct bass line, very distinct drums, very distinct singing. So I would love to see a sample where everything's a little bit more muddy, one of those older samples, just to see how the AI kind of figures out where the sounds are. But I mean, so far it's working great. Like I said, I would need to use the actual stem separator to see how good it is. But I mean, so far from what he's showing, it looks great.
I can adjust the tempo for the pad parameter.
That's really cool. Adjusting the tempo for the pad parameter, that's pretty sick.
The bass sounds good, but it needs a bit more volume. So I'll raise the bass stem's volume and add in some hard compression as well.
One thing that's kind of funny that doesn't really matter, but if you're just using the bass, then I don't know why you need to adjust the parameter. Why don't you just turn up the track if you took out everything but the bass? But I don't know, I just thought that was funny.
A shortcut for adding in one of Studio's built-in effects, switch to deck effect mode. using the encoder mode button. Holding down shift and turning the encoder knob lets you load in the effect for that knob. Alright, now that the bass is done, let's make another scene and play out some ARP notes. Let's add a synth to another instrument deck. All the pads are available in key because playing key is active.
All right, so he just added an instrument effect. Now he's playing VST, like MIDI notes. All this stuff is like pretty standard. There's nothing that really blows me away. The sampling, I will say, interests me. And I would like to see how the pads feel, but honestly, like Native Instruments just still has my favorite pads. If you are just a finger drummer, if you just want to do some pad whacking for your DJ set, I would still say the Maschine is up there. It feels so great to play with this thing, but I mean, we'll finish out the video and we'll see if there's still anything that interests me, but so far the sampling is the thing that's looking the most intriguing. The pads look a little cheap in the video. Let's keep watching. Maybe they'll pull out something crazy in the next minute here.
And to have this track fit nicely in the mix, I can make some small adjustments to EQ, volume, and also use the touch strip to apply a filter.
Once again, we still have a touch strip here on the Maschine. A touch strip that works really well, I must say. I've had my Maschine for years, and the touch strip still works great. This thing is unproven, so I kind of would still like to see how durable it is. But yeah, like, we got great pads. We got a great touch strip. You don't need to jump around touching buttons. We got our groups here. We got more buttons. We got more ways to touch parameters. There's a lot of menu diving on the sampler, but I mean, we still got a minute of the video left, so maybe I'll just stop talking. Maybe I'll just let you guys watch the video here.
And lastly, I'll add some effects to the synth. Alright, so now I've got all the main tracks for the beat, but I want some of the scenes to stand out even more. So on Slab, I'll use the pad effects. Slab has 4 unique effects types, which you can only access with Slab connected. You have the wah filter, the lo-fi crush, the inverse reverb, and the pitch loop. These effects types are grouped into columns, with the effects amounts increasing from 25% to 100%, from the bottom to the top.
No way, guys, they have RC20 inside this thing. No, I'm kidding. But that might be cool for a live set. Like I said, I can think of a million other plugins that would do that. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like, for a live set, if you just want to get an effect really quick, that might be a cool feature. I'm not sure. I'm not a DJ, but yeah, I'm not super impressed by that.
If I make a mistake, I can always hit undo to start over. Now that the beat is finished, I can play around with the overall BPM and key to hear what it sounds like. To do this, press the encoder mode, select deck parameters, and turn the encoder knobs to make the adjustments. Slower or faster, or pitched higher or lower. And that's it. Grab Slab and bring beat making back to your hands.
Alright, so I kind of get the idea of this thing. There was no features that really like blew me out of the water that were like super crazy. However, if you already use Serato Studio and Serato Sample, I'm assuming this would be a big help. For now, I'd say that's the people I recommend it for. However, seeing everything, if you don't already use Serato Studio or you aren't a DJ, I wasn't blown away by anything. I'll say that. Like I said, the pads, I would need to feel them, but they looked a little bit cheap. There was a little bit too much menu diving for me, but I'm for sure keeping my eye on Serato. I'm impressed for like their first MIDI controller ever. You have everything you need in there. I'm curious. They made something super cool for their user base. I will say that. What I'm curious though for honestly is how this is going to stand in terms of a drum pad. Because we all know who number 1 is. That's MPC. Maschine is number 2, trailing behind them. I don't know, do we have a number 3 now? Are they a true competitor? I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments. I'm for sure curious. And if you use Serato Studio, let me know how useful this thing would be. So comment anything I might have missed. It was so much fun watching this with you guys. Appreciate everyone watching. See you next vid.